Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining on this Saturday. Some of you, it's Saturday morning. Some of us, it's Saturday afternoon. And for all over the country and the world, thanks for joining in on the first first live Rhino Roundtable that we're doing with Wholesaling Inc. We'll start with Mr. Chris Craddock. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Actually, there was one of the questions that got submitted that I thought was really, really important that I think we should lead off with. It said, Brent Bowers, how did you get so darn good looking? Signed, Brent Bowers.
So, yeah.
You mind?
Hey, sometimes I just need to boost my own ego. I once was walking out the door and my wife just started clapping because she knew I was going to speak on stage. She goes, at least one person's going to clap for you today. Well, thanks for kicking us off with that first great question, Chris. And thanks for, shifting the soccer practice so you can join us live here. Appreciate you very much. Double D, David Dodge, how are you today, man?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm down at the lake house today, so I don't have the best setup, but I'm here and I'm excited to be here. And hopefully we have a good turnout and we can help answer a bunch of questions. And I'd love to hear anybody watching it as well about their recent successes too. So if you have people that are here that have questions, great. But also if you have recent wins, we want to hear about those too.
I think those are more important sometimes. We do that on our support calls. We start with the win and then the question, and you never know who you're going to inspire that day. And a lot of times I'm inspired by the wins. So I love that. So let's roll with that. Win, then question. W, then Q. All right, Miss Lauren Hardy, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's 10 a.m. in Southern California, and I just had to close my window because there's some my office is right off PCH, so there's people on their Harleys being really loud. So,
hey, it's a good day for riding. Good
day.
Well, we're gonna keep this right at 60 minutes. That way, people can get out on their Harleys and go ride and enjoy your Saturday, enjoy your children, enjoy your families. Just a kind of quick housekeeping item is throw your questions in. We are going to be answering them live. We're definitely going to be answering all the pre-submitted questions as well. We got quite a few of those. We're going to do our best to get to all of those questions, but we're also going to do our best to answer the live questions. So I will go ahead and kick it off for the first question. And this is my biggest fear, was pronouncing someone's name wrong. I'm just going to go ahead and apologize right now. I'm going to pronounce it Tahari Razo. The first question he asked is, how would I wholesale without capital for the EMD or earnest money deposit? So, Lauren, you want to take the first one?
Oh my God, I love this question because I feel like I'm a rare bird in this. I have never actually paid when wholesaling. I have never paid an EMD of my own money. Maybe I've done it once, but I can't even remember it. So number one, don't even offer an EMD. I do not have it in my purchase agreement. I don't want to even put that idea in the seller's head. If a seller requests an EMD, then fine. Typically what I do is I get the EMD from the end buyer when I assign it. So that's what I do. And I avoid this whole thing altogether.
Easy peasy. I love it. Anybody else have anything else they want to share? Any other? I love that. Not even putting EMD.
So Lauren, I'm curious. So you get your buyer to pay it?
My end buyer.
Time.
Yes.
Okay.
And when the seller even brings it up, so if the seller brings it up, usually it's a savvier seller. I will say, you know what? Absolutely not a problem. But here's the thing. We work on so many houses at once. It's really hard to have so many EMDs out. And by the way, Mr. Seller, did you know that if I give an EMD to escrow, you actually have to sign to give it back to me? And I've had sellers refuse to sign for whatever reason because they're shady. So here's what I'm going to offer. I'm going to deposit an EMD as soon as I waive my inspection contingency. So when I waive my inspection contingency is when I found an end buyer. And part of the deal with the end buyer is they have to submit an EMD to me. They have to put it into escrow. So that's how I do it.
I love it. I love it. Land sellers usually don't care about EMD, nor even know what an earnest money deposit is most of the time. But we leave ours at $10. And I can't remember the last time we paid an earnest money deposit. We did. We paid one about a month or two ago. It was for a bigger parcel. It was for $1 million plus purchase. So most of the time, I don't think that their earnest money deposit is that important. And this was a 2-part question. There was actually 2 questions.
Hey Brent, can I just throw one thing?
Yep.
I just want to make sure that like everything everybody said is absolutely accurate. But I know that some of you guys, you may be newer to like contract law and everything else. Just understand, Lauren's not saying there is no EMD in there. She's saying the contract has to have an EMD. It's something called consideration, and without consideration, which I know just gets into a technical term, the contract's not valid. So what Lauren's doing is saying, yes, it'll be there, but it'll be there later, and then getting the end user buyer. So don't think you can take it out of your contract altogether. It just has to be down the road. Like give yourself 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, whatever to submit it. So I just want to make sure everybody gets that.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Chris Craddock.
In our contracts, it's due at the end of the inspection period. So that seems probably what Lauren's doing. And I was asking earlier because I was just curious on the way that she pitched it, and she did it, and she did a great job. I love it.
Yeah.
They're like wild west out there in California. They write their own rules. So
I know. I actually have a counter argument to Chris's point. I personally, because I put so many contracts out, I want a minimal viable contract. That is my angle. So I don't have it in my contract. I leave it out. It is so rare that I have sellers back out. And I do, in the event a seller did, I'm not going to go through the hassle of suing them anyway. So I actually, in my first purchase agreement, do not put it in there, because it's kind of a sales tactic that I personally have. Some wholesalers subscribe to this. There's like 2 lanes I've noticed. There's the minimal, or there's the consideration type wholesalers that like want to make sure their contract is like totally bulletproof. And then there's the minimal viable ones where I put so many contracts out. There's a strategy, both legal and for sales, why I don't do that.
Yeah, and obviously, like, you project so much confidence to your seller, they're not even worried about the EMD. They're like, oh yeah, Lauren, she was so confident. I mean, just how you just stated that.
Yeah.
He's going to buy. Who cares about the EMD? All right, looks like another one. Do you recommend 1 click or 3 clicks when starting cold calling? Do you recommend 1 click or 3 clicks when starting cold calling? I'm not sure I understand what that question is.
Dialer.
So I think that probably was referring to lines. So I use the batch dialer with my team. We love it. It's an auto dialer, right? And you have to put the numbers and the contacts in. You have to go get those elsewhere. We use batch leads to pull the leads and to skip trace them, and then we just import them right into the dialer. And it depends. The answer to that question, it really depends. And the reason is if you have 2 or 3 or 4 lines auto dialing, right? The more lines, the more opportunity you're going to have to connect with the owners of property, sellers or potential sellers. The downside when you have multiple lines is you may have 3 or 4 lines being dialed, and let's say this one connects. Well, then you have 3 others that are dialing. What happens when they connect? You're not there because you're on this line. So there can be missed opportunities when using the multi-line dialer. So rule of thumb is if it's just a big list, we'll do 2 or 3 at a time. I don't like 4. It's too many. If it's a list that we really want to get on the phone with, we're not really looking to, miss them by them answering us being on, then we'll scale it down to just 1 line. So it really depends on, how many people you're trying to connect with and what value you place on connecting with those individuals. Great question.
Yeah, great answer. Great answer. Also, where would I take the contract once I have it signed by a cash buyer and the seller/agent? Please help.
All right.
I can jump in with that. Take it to the title company. I want that title company to start like open title immediately. I want them to start looking for liens and encumbrances, back tax problems, and then I get my purchase agreement first, and then I get my assignment agreement from my cash buyer to the title company as well. I was actually coaching my father, and his title company would not open title until he brought his cash buyer. That was so wrong. They needed to open it up immediately. So guys, we got to coach our title companies how we want this process done.
Yeah, as somebody that owns a title company, there's so many people. Like, the reason why title companies don't want to do that is because it costs them a couple $100 to start running all the title stuff, and they don't want to do it unless they know it's going to go through. But also, as somebody that owns a title company, I am all about the relationship. So when we were talking to our business partners and they were asking that question, should we do this? And I'm like, listen, if a title company wasn't willing to do this for me, I'm on to the next title company, because there's a lot of great title companies out there. So they better do it. So that's that whole conversation right there. If the title company's not willing to do it, first, if you like them, have the conversation about why it's important. And then if they still don't do it, there's like 30 other title companies you can talk to.
Absolutely. A good pro tip is to don't tell them you're wholesaling it, because then they're not going to want to go open the title up if there's no cash buyer ready, right? So if you are wholesaling them, tell them the buyer's there. If you are wholesaling and you don't have a buyer, don't tell them that you're wholesaling. Just say, hey, I'm buying this property. Get to work on running the title. Please and thank you, of course, right? But if you give them any reason to think that it's not going to work, they're gonna stall and save that $100 or $200 that it's going to cost them in time and effort.
Cannot blame them. Guys, we provide our title company a lunch, a great lunch. We try and do this like every quarter. And have I done it every quarter? No. I'm actually reminding myself right now to do this. But we love our title company. And it took me a lot of years to find the title company that we found. If I would have just started out today, I wish someone would have told me, Brent, go and Google "Sell My House Fast Cleveland" or "Sell My House Fast Colorado Springs" and see the top 3 people, the top 3 title companies that come up, and call those people on the phone and say, hey, I'm just getting started. I was hoping you could recommend a good investor-friendly title company for me. That would have saved me so much grief, so many tears, so much anger, so much credit card debt, and my first 5 deals probably would have went through. All right, I see a lot of chat. Oh, that's the private chat. Go ahead, Chris.
David Dodge was asking me to speak just about what's going on in the real estate market. You guys want me to talk about that just for a little bit?
Yeah. Let's dive into that, and then we can go right back to that question that we just had.
Okay, cool. So here's a couple things just to understand. So inflation right now is about just. The government says it's about 8%, but when the dollar stores become the $1.25 store, we know that it's actually not just 8%. We're seeing like Truflation and some of these other people that are looking at the real cost of goods and services. It means that it's more like 15%. Now, what that means is the value of the dollar is going down by about 15%. So people are running to harder assets like real estate, which is giving real estate its strength, even though the stock market is dropping like crazy, cryptocurrency dropping like crazy. There's so many other places where people are losing their money. The real estate market's relatively strong. Now, with that said, what has happened in the last 60 days is the average home nationwide was getting over 7 offers per listing, which means that there's a lot more buyers than there are sellers. Just think about going to a ball game, right? The reason they can charge $15 for a beer is because you don't have a lot of different options, so they can raise the price. That's what's happening to real estate. Well, what is happening right now is now as the prices have gone up and inflation has gone up, we're still in a really solid market. We're seeing just over 3 offers nationwide on every listing, which means some listings are actually sitting for a little while and some are getting 5 or 6 offers still. So we're starting to see that little bit of a shift in the market. So now the prices are actually leveling out and kind of going down just a little bit. But because there's still not many houses to buy, inventory is still very, very low. And what we mean by inventory is if there's not any more houses to buy that comes on, how long would it take for all of the houses that are active to disappear? That right now is about 2 months. And to be a level, even market, it's 6 months. So right now it means that real estate is still really, really, really hot. It's just not as hot as it was, 90 days ago. So yeah, it's
What
still
was the inventory 90 days ago? If we're at 2 months today and 6 months is a good median, meaning it's not a buyer's market,
-3
not a
days.
seller's market. Yeah, where were we at 90 days ago?
So all of it's a little bit local. Here in my market, we were like, the crazy thing was we were less than we were actually just over a week in my market right outside the DC area. And there were some markets that were just under a month. So it fluctuates a little bit. But that's the crazy thing is, yeah, the inventory is still crazy. So and again, this is just a little quick tip. So 6 months is neutral. If there's less than 6 months inventory, you're officially in a seller's market. And when you're down to like 2 months, it's an extreme seller's market. And if it's more than 6 months, it's in a buyer's market. And if it's more than like 8 months, it's an extreme buyer's market.
Did you guys know that? I didn't know that.
No.
I didn't know all that. That's awesome.
Thanks for educating us, Craddock. You're the man.
Yeah.
Chris,
Love
you're so smart.
Hey, you have to be here every single. We're gonna do this once a month, and we're gonna pick right now. We're not sure exactly which Saturday of the month we're gonna do it on, but you can guarantee we're gonna do this once a month. But Chris Craddock, you must be on here to keep coming up with those tips. So definitely subscribe to the Wholesaling Inc. channel, share this. And I noticed there was a question about virtual. So I
Let's
saw
go back to that. Yeah. Lauren, you're up.
Hey,
How do
did
you
someone
close?
say the word virtual? Okay, so how do you close deals virtually over the phone from Paul? Okay, so number one step is you have to get over, you have to shift your mindset and convince yourself that this can be done, because everyone first goes into this thinking that it's going to be extremely hard. There's no way a seller is going to accept your offer and sign a contract over the phone without ever having met you in person. Get over that, because we do this hundreds of times a year. Okay. Number two is you have to get really, really on the phone. You need to get a really good script. You need to get really, really comfortable with it. And you have to sound super, super confident. So early in this episode, I did a little role play, and I do that a lot. I did a little role play, and you heard that it just flew out of my mouth. So when I first got started, it didn't always just fly out of my mouth. I had to have a script, and I also had to memorize common seller objections. And anytime I had a seller objection that I couldn't answer, if I started fumbling on the phone, if I started getting nervous, I would hang up the phone, get through it, hang up the phone, and I would find 3 different ways I could have said that better. So next time, if a seller asks, which they will, I have something that just flies out of my mouth, and I practice. So the more confident you are, the more the seller will trust you. What happens is when you start like hemming and hawing and stuttering, the seller starts, not really trusting you. They can tell like you don't really have a ton of experience doing this. But if you flat out say, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, so we get a ton of seller leads every day. I mean, you came in from seeing our commercial, right? So we get a lot of calls, off our commercials. If I had to get out and go drive to every property that came out anytime we had somebody interested, I'd be driving all day. In fact, I don't think I could even visit as many sellers as we did calls in 24 hours. So our process is we have to know that we're on the same page with price. And the way we do that is we send you a contract via DocuSign, you sign it, and I get you on the inspection schedule the next day or whenever available or whenever convenient. Look at me, I'm stuttering. Don't do that. Don't do that. So anyway, I say something like that. We'll get you on the schedule next week. We'll get you on the schedule on Wednesday. And then boom, they're like, okay, oh, so that's how it's done. Got it.
There you go.
Amazing answer.
What?
There you go. All right, let me take one from the submitted questions. This one came from Kimberly. If someone has a mortgage, how does wholesaling work? I assume, Kimberly, you're talking about if the seller has a mortgage. I would assume that's what you're saying. I hope if not, clarify it in the comment box. But if the seller has a mortgage, we just need to make sure that we're able to get that property under contract for at least just a little bit more than that mortgage is so we can pay off that mortgage. My first deal, my first wholesale house I ever got under contract was exactly what the seller owed on the mortgage, and I was able to sell it for $3,700 more. And that's it. Super simple.
So yeah, the mortgage is kind of irrelevant. The only reason a mortgage would matter is if the mortgage is above the cash offer. So super simple example. Somebody has a property that has a mortgage of $100,000 and I offer them $65,000. Well, unless they're willing to bring that difference of what they owe and what I'm willing to pay to the table, they're not going to be able to sell it. So the mortgage is just a lien. It's typically going to be the first position lien on a property, but there can be other liens. There can be a second mortgage. There could be sewer. There could be code violations. There could be taxes. So that's where the title company is going to come in. They're going to basically figure out all the debts or liens attached to the property, and all those combined are going to equal the payoff essentially of that property. And if the cash offer is at or above that number, then they can sell that property and walk with something. Maybe it's a little bit, maybe it's a lot. But if the cash offer is below that number, they're going to have to bring money to the table to close that deal. Now, don't be deterred if your offer is below that number. It's really going to depend on how motivated these individuals are. In fact, I've had sellers bring $40,000 and even $50,000 to the table to sell a property to me because they just didn't want the headache anymore. Now, the level of motivation with these individuals was very, very high, right? So it's not necessarily going to happen every single time if your offer is below, but don't just throw in the towel and quit if that number is below. Work with them, see what they can do.
Absolutely. Your goal is to do whatever it takes to serve that seller. And if you always have that in your mind, you're going to continuously bring in
Hey, we got 40 viewers.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
We're growing. This is awesome. Woo-hoo.
Not too bad for the first.
We're happy to have you guys. Absolutely. And I want to see some wins. Let's share some wins.
I second that. I love hearing the wins. All right. Jose Fernandez, tips for finding owner info even after skip tracing. I found a couple vacant lots in $1 million neighborhood. Now I'm the worst with stuttering, by the way, but no luck with their phone numbers. I know there's opportunity here. Let me ask you, Jose, is it possible to look up the mailing address and go knock on the door or find an email address? That would be my next steps if I can't find a phone number, and then look on social media. Any other tips from you guys?
Tax billing address.
Sure. Yeah, actually, Lauren's the queen on this. So yeah, what did you say?
Well, from my single days, I've gotten really good at stalking people. So I could literally be in the FBI. So yeah, I know how to get a hold of someone who's trying to avoid it. Yeah, just look up their tax billing address. That's going to obviously has to be there, and just send them a piece of mail, handwritten, personalized stamp, that sort of thing. That would be the easiest. Also, what are you using to skip trace? I personally like batch skip tracing. You can do batchleads.io or batchskiptracing.com. I like their skip tracing platform. I've seen people use stuff like from other areas, and it doesn't, they don't get as good of results. So it could just be the skip tracer you're using. But when in doubt, just mail it to their tax mailing address.
Yeah, I have a number, and I'm not equipped right now. I feel like such a bum because I don't have all the names of them. But basically, I'll send the address. My assistant, we've got like 4 or 5 different companies. If it doesn't come back with one company, we'll just send it to some of the other skip tracing companies as well. I would agree with Lauren. Batch is great, but it's shocking how many times when if we're looking for. If you're just skip tracing it, a mass amount of people, just using one company is great. But if you're looking for an individual property, We've got a bunch of different companies we've signed up for. And then if one doesn't come back, we'll send it to a bunch of other ones on that one property. And it's shocking how many times somebody else will come back with an address or a phone number that'll actually work.
And another thing that works is just go next door. Go next door to that vacant lot and knock on each door. I guarantee you one of those nosy neighbors know who owns that lot and has a phone number.
And guys, let's be honest. Every one of us spends some amount of time on social media. And we could also assume that other people are going to also spend a decent amount of time on social media. So the question here actually refers to, not being able to find the phone numbers, but being able to find the property owner's name is going to be really, really easy to do, right? If it's an LLC, it may be a little bit more difficult, but if it is a person, you can just go on social media and type in their name, comma, the city that you think that they live in, and you can find them really, really easily. And if they don't want to connect with you on Facebook or Instagram, I mean, we've connected with people on the most random social medias and just say, hey, we noticed that you have this property. Are you interested? And we've bought in tons of houses without a phone number from DMing people. So don't discount social media. You're probably watching this on social media.
There you go. There you go. All right. Another question.
Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. So 90% of the accuracy is going to be in the first number. And then it's roughly 6 to 8% accuracy on the second number, and often 3% or less on the third number. So my answer to this is don't go beyond 3. And we typically just choose the first 2. Number 5, 6, and 7 are worthless. I mean, you may connect with somebody by all means. I'm not discounting that, but you're going to have to call hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of number 5, 6, and 7s to get somebody.
Yeah. Call all 7 if it takes that, though. If
yeah,
you have
absolutely.
To call all 7,
absolutely.
do it. And it doesn't particularly have to be that seller. You can ask that person if they know that seller.
Or if they have a property and that they want to sell it. Trust me, it's happened. It's rare, but you get a wrong number and you got somebody motivated to sell, you got to ask that question.
There you go. Sometimes you just got to do what it takes to get them on the phone. And you ever notice, like, when you're looking for, like, the silverware drawer, you're in an Airbnb or something like that, and you have to check all drawers, and it's always the last drawer you look in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you found it. Now you stop looking. So call all 7 of them, and hopefully it doesn't take that many.
I like that, Brent. That is a good answer. I like that.
Those are the only kind I have. All right. So next question from DeAndre. My question is, can I take equity out if a residential property after I have the property under contract if I want to buy and hold the property? I think that's a Brrrr question. I'm assuming this is a rental.
Yeah, let's throw that up on the screen here if we can. Is this the one from Ralph?
This one was sent by DeAndre, and it was pre-submitted. Can I take equity out of a residential property after I have the property under contract if I want to buy and hold the property?
So you can take equity out of a property via a line of credit if you own it. But in order for you to capture equity in a property, a bank that's going to offer you that line of credit is going to have to tie up that equity via a lien. So I'm not sure exactly the question, right? But if you own a property already and you have equity, you can most likely capture some of that. And if it's a property that you just have under contract that has equity in it, you're most likely not going to be able to access any of that equity because you don't own it. Having it under contract gives you equitable interest, which in theory gives you the ability to market your contract for sale, but you can't market that property for sale and you can't borrow against that property without it being in your name, the deed being in your name. So great question, but the context in that situation definitely matters.
All right, Jose Fernandez has another comment back up there. I helped find a buyer for someone splitting the profit. I'm making $2,500.
Hell
Who's got a
yeah.
victory bell? We'll be closing on the 30th, and it will be my very first time making money from real estate. Amazing. Jose.
Woo!
Someone smashed that victory bell. I did not bring mine with
I
me.
think
I didn't have
might
one
a
either.
bell. I gotta grab it.
I
See, I think I got one right here.
Get it. All right. That is amazing, Jose. Thanks for sharing the win. That's awesome. And then we'll go to you next, Ralph Pena. All right. Unwrapping. This is a brand new victory ring, too. First ring on the victory bell.
First
All
ring out of the bell. Look at that.
That is beautiful. That was
Boom.
gold, too.
Love it.
Amazing.
I like that bell. Where did you get that?
Oh, so
That's what we're sending
Amazon
out now with Wholesaling Inc.
The one I got is so ugly. I won't use it. It's like bronze and weird. Did anyone
Because
else
you've been
get that
ringing it.
version of the bell?
You've been ringing it. Yes, that's what I have, too. We've been ringing it so many years now. It's all beat up. So that's all right. It's had some wear and tear. So Ralph Pena said, how does everyone handle burnout? What? What's burnout? Family, life, and business doesn't stop, but our bodies have to. Please roundtable share. I think we should start with Chris Craddock on this because I was at a mastermind with him, and the guy never stopped walking and talking on his cell phone the entire time. Chris, how do you stop burnout? And you've got a huge family. You've got a wife. You've got several beautiful children. How do you do it?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite questions to talk about. So the reason we have burnout is because our bodies, like physiologically, which means just our bodies will react to what's going on in our head. And so let me just share like a story about there's a swimmer. I'm not a great swimmer, right? I'm looking at David's lake house behind him, and I'm like, I want to jump in that right now. But bottom line is there was this girl, she swam the English Channel, right? Crazy swim. Well, then she was swimming from San Diego, from Catalina Island to the mainland of San Diego, which is a much easier, it's still a great swim, but a much easier swim. And she was out there swimming, this massive fog descended, and she could no longer see where she was going. And her muscles just started cramping up. Everything started cramping. She almost drowned. They had to pull her out of the water because she couldn't make the swim. And the main reason was the fog descended. She couldn't see where she was going, and her whole body started shutting down. And so, you know, emotion and motion, like they come together, right? So what do we do to keep that emotion high and to make our bodies not want to shut down? The key there, in my opinion, is you've got to know what your goals are, right? So the second you can't touch, taste, and feel your goals, as soon as you feel like they're way too far away, as soon as you're not feeling like the next deal is coming or you're not going to make the money you're dreaming about, you're going to start shutting down physically. And so that's why you've just got to write your goals down every single day. You've got to touch them, taste them, feel them every single day. And the second your goals seem too far away, you're going to lose all of the energy and the motivation to keep going. So you've got to just feel those goals, touch them, taste them, like literally sit down and visualize and understand it. And that's what will keep you motivated to continue rolling on your journey.
That's amazing. Lauren, go ahead, shoot at this. We'll all hit it.
Okay, I love this question only because it's so topical for me. I had a major meltdown burnout moment this week. Just everything crashed down at once. Personal, business, all at once this week. My computer broke, everything went wrong this week. At one point, Brent Bowers called me when I was about to have an emotional breakdown. And I laugh. I'm like, you literally are calling me right now as I'm about to have a breakdown in the middle of Target in Huntington Beach. Anyway, so it's super
that happens
topical.
in Walmart. You need to save that kind of stuff for Walmart.
Yeah. That's a Walmart thing. So I totally get it. This is what I do. And this works so freaking well for me. I have this notebook. It's my thinking time notebook. If you want to learn about thinking time, you got to read the book Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. It's a regular practice you all need to do. So I will get my thinking time notebook out. I will set 45 minutes on the clock. And I will I will make sure I'm alone, no distractions, no phone, no nothing. I write on 3 different pages. I write what's working right now or what's going well. I write what's not working right now. And then the next page I go, how can I fix what's not working? And first I start with gratitude, because you got to recognize, that you are capable of solving a lot of problems. So what's working is usually something you solved prior. So you got to feel good about that. Remind yourself that these things are going well. So not everything is going poorly. Next is what isn't working. And you got to get really clear. And this is where you just dump. Why are you not happy right now? What's going on with your family? Is it your kids? Is it you're driving too much? Are you commuting too much to your kids' school because you picked a school that's too far away? No joke. I moved because of this exercise. There was a point where I put my kids in private school during COVID because of this exercise, because I had their school shut down. I was so stressed out running a homeschool and trying to own a business. I literally hung up, called private schools when I was done with this exercise, got them in private schools, moved my house before to get closer. You start getting clear about your problems, and dump every problem. I mean, go everything. Go with your relationship, kids, family, business. Exactly what is it in the business that's wrong? Go so micro on this page. Then look at the next page. On the next page, start finding solutions. Find 3 ways you can solve every one of those problems. And the next week, you got to go on problem solve mode. And that's your to-do list, is just start knocking out your problems. Every time I do this within a week, it's like my life starts coming together. You really got to tend to this. This is something that you have to do very regularly as you start getting those feelings like you're burnt out. We all do. I do. It happened to me this week. And today I brought my thinking time journal, and I'm like, I'm going to do that exercise because I haven't done it in, a couple months, and things have gotten out of hand. So anyway, it helps me every time. Hope you love it. Hope you do it and it works for you.
That's good. I actually started time blocking. I put that in my calendar for thinking time to remind myself to do it, because if it's not in my calendar, it doesn't happen. All right, go ahead, David, the guy at the lake house. How do you avoid burnout?
Oh, man. Well, I would agree with everything you all said. Right? Time blocking, I think, is a must.
If it's not in my calendar, it doesn't happen. All right, go ahead, David, the guy at the lake.
Craddock. I think he's got the tab open because he's wanting to comment.
Oh!
All right, here's the deal. I agree with everything you guys just said. Time blocking, I think, is super, super important. And one thing that we want to do is we want to write down all the things that we don't like in our life and start deleting, deferring, delegating those items. But time blocking is very, very important. But one thing I want to add to that would be, you got to learn how to say no more. And if you are time blocking time with your family and the phone rings for business, you got to say no, right? You can't overlap these two. Family time is for family time. Business time is for business time. So again, you want a time block, but you want to definitely dedicate the time that you have blocked to that activity. And if you're in a time block that's not for that activity, you got to get good at saying no. If you're like me, you're probably a yes man, right? I love saying yes to people. But here's a perfect example. If my buddies reach out to me and they say, hey, Dave, let's go get happy hour today. Can you come meet us at 4:30 and, we'll have you home by 7. Well, if I say yes to them, in theory, I'm saying no to my wife. I'm saying no to my family. I'm saying no to my business partners. Maybe not directly, but by saying yes to these other individuals here, I'm saying no to everybody else. So you just got to understand, time blocking is for the time in which you are supposed to be using it for, and you have to get good at saying no to everything else. And then the only other thing I would add to that is, if you are, super busy with family, super busy with life, and your business is starting to grow as well, you need to make sure that whenever you are in the business mode, right, that you're also saying no to the other things. So you got to time block it out, and it's very, very important. Brent, what you got?
Yeah, you just cannot be greedy. And what a perfect segue from T-Bone here. I was about to talk about a dog with a bone, and then T-Bone pops up with his question. I love it. Current land shark. Have you ever seen a dog with a bone and then He sees while he's chewing on that bone, there's another bone over there, and he runs to get it, and another dog comes and grabs the bone he was just chewing on, and he has no bone. So at
No
one time,
bone.
you were wanting that family, you were wanting that wife or that husband, and then you had children that you wanted. And now you're stopping that time with your children and your wife to go and answer that phone call that could be another business lead. So I'm just saying, don't get greedy. You have to focus. You have to time block. When your children have that time, you need to, turn the phone off. When your wife has that time or your husband has that time, it's their time. Just as if you were sitting with a client, you're trying to get a $100,000 deal. You're not answering your phone while you're talking to that seller, right? So everyone should be treated with that special time. And how do I avoid burnout? There's a great book right behind me, and it's called Who, Not How. I have an amazing team. Jen Way, I saw her on here, the live watching. If it wasn't for Jen, I don't know what I'd be doing, because my mind bounces everywhere. Squirrel vision, opportunity, and I need help with implementers, and my entire team helps me avoid burnout. So you show me a business owner that's getting burnt out, I'll show you a one-man show.
I love it. Don't chase two rabbits.
There you go.
You'll have 0 rabbits at the end of the day. Same with the bone. Love it.
That's right. Yeah, he who chases 2 rabbits has none. Hey, can you throw T-Bone's question back up, Mr. Chris Hines? I love seeing another land shark, and I can't see the question. I got to wait for that other chat bar to go away. All right, current land shark here, definitely struggling with burnout lately as well. So thank you. Dang it, why is it? I can't.
Oh, hey, you know what? Here's another thing that I was trying to think of, and then my mind went blank, and it just came back to me. So I tell this to all of my students whenever I start working with them. A great way to avoid burnout is also to do this. It's a really, really simple piece of advice. Don't try to block out like 6 or 8 hours on Saturday to do your marketing, right? 2 reasons. That's a lot of time to focus all at once. But the second reason is if you have a birthday party you want to attend this Saturday, and your spouse asks to hang out with you the following Saturday, and then the next Saturday you're sick, right? Well, then it's going to be a 3-week period between the times that you're going to be marketing. So I always suggest it's better to do 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour every single day than try to do 6 or 7 or 8 hours on Saturday or Sunday. It's also going to help prevent with burnout if you're doing smaller amounts versus trying to go do 4, 6, 8. Some people might do 10 hours over the weekend, and that to me is going to create burnout. If I can do 45 minutes or an hour, or maybe even a little more, maybe 2 hours of marketing every day, it's going to help with that burnout.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Thanks so much, T-Bone, for putting that comment. And then also, we got a win. We got a win from Brian E. Lauren, I filmed my first commercial with REM 10X TV yesterday. I'm freaking out. Guys, celebrate the small wins. Celebrate the small wins, because
let's go.
Yeah, those add up to huge wins.
Get ready to be famous.
That's right.
Yeah, keep those wins coming in, guys. And Scarlett just messaged on WhatsApp. Guys, throw a number in the chat. Anybody watching this live, the Rhino Roundtable for Saturday's live show, throw any number in the chat. We're going to print them all out, cut them up, and at the end of this hour at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when we finish this, we're going to call a number, and we're going to send you a victory bell. Actually, we're going to do it probably a few minutes before so we can get your address as well. So throw a number in the chat. Pick one, and we're going to send you a victory bell. So let's do it. Get those numbers coming in. Paul already hit number 1. Chris Craddock, Keith Cunningham, fire. Yes. I don't think I've ever read anything from Keith Cunningham that wasn't just pure gold.
I was like, you have.
I'll tell you what, Lauren went to that went to one of his events, and I was just like, keep talking, Lauren. Keep telling me more about this. This is awesome.
Can we all go this summer? Let's go together. I will go again. It was the best 4 days ever. I learned so much.
No, I'm blocked this summer. We have scheduled trips, vacations, holidays with the kids to avoid burnout. So one thing I heard from a guy on a podcast a long time ago is he schedules his holidays or his vacations and works around that. I was like, that is the most brilliant thing I've ever heard on a podcast. All right, Jed Cooper asked, How do you keep motivated when you don't find a deal right away and the phone scares you to start dialing? Part 2 of that is fighting off thoughts. This isn't for you, and or this is imposter syndrome. I got a quick answer for that. Listen to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast every single day when you're on the way to go door knock because the phone scares you. Well, then go door knock a few times.
That is a great answer.
So if you're scared of the phone, like is someone going to reach through you and grab you by the neck or something, go knock on a few doors. That's how I started out.
Motion creates emotion.
Yeah.
There you go. Motion creates emotion. All right. Anybody else got an answer for that?
I do. So I actually, I'm a total people pleaser. So I had a lot of phone phobia, especially with making offers to sellers because I felt embarrassed by my offer. So a couple things I did that helped me. I read somewhere that first you need to turn off that fight or flight feeling that you get. One of the ways, if you start feeling really anxious physically, like in your stomach, you're starting to sweat, get down and start doing push-ups. There's something about that like turns that reaction off in your body. So like it helps me to turn the reaction off. The other thing is repetition. It's just like rip the Band-Aid off and all day cold call whole list. By the end of the day, it won't scare you anymore. Hearing, to go F yourself, like won't freak you out as bad as it did earlier in that day. So you got to do a lot of repetition to learn to just turn that fight or flight off. The more you do it, the easier it gets, honestly.
I've got a science answer to what you just said, Lauren.
Yeah, what is it?
You said do push-ups, and you were talking about cortisol or fear or pause button or 5,000 years ago when we lived in tribes, so we weren't like by ourselves and die in the jungle. But that the best antidote to cortisol, fear, is endorphins. That's where you get for the push-ups or a walk or a run or going to the gym. When I'm afraid to do something, which is all the time, fear of failure, fear of rejection, usually when I'm about done with my gym workout or my walk or my run, I'm like, heck with it. I'm going to go ahead and call David Dodge. I don't care what he says now. He's not going to reject me. And it's because I have endorphins built up that push the cortisol away. Science.
Yeah. What he said.
Yep.
I made that up. No, I'm just kidding. I actually got that from Sean Callaghy.
Chris, throw that comment back up for us if you don't mind. So this is everything you guys said I agree with. But there's also another piece here. And that is if the phone scares you from start dialing. Well, that's if you're doing outbound marketing. So does the phone also scare you when it rings? Hopefully not. So do marketing to get the phone to ring.
If it's a bill collector.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I was that way where even when it rang, it would get me anxious because I'd be like, oh, it's a seller. And I have to have like an uncomfortable conversation. So
Yeah.
I get it from both ways.
Yeah. And the imposter syndrome is not something that happens to just people that are in the beginning or have done a couple. Guys, I've done almost 1,000 transactions and I get imposter syndrome sometimes. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not ashamed of it. And one of the best ways that I combat it, and hopefully you guys can just copy this, is my intentions are good, right? I want to help them. Now, of course, I'm in business to make a profit, right? We all are. But at the end of the day, once I remind myself that I'm going to do everything in my power to help them and I have good meaning behind it, it helps suppress that imposter syndrome. So somebody who's done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of wholesales, it's you're still going to have to deal with that sometimes, but don't let it overwhelm you. And another thing that you can do, you had mentioned doing push-ups to get those endorphins going. Just take a bunch of deep breaths. It's going to help calm you down. It's going to help center you and bring you back. And then just realize that you're just trying to help. And you'll be able to push through that much better.
So good. Chris, did you have some gold nuggets?
No, I mean, I think you guys hit it. Everything, the thing I just always remind myself when I'm feeling down, motion creates emotion, motion creates emotion, and all you guys are saying the same thing. Like, motion, like Lauren with the push-ups, David, but like just everybody having their thing that they're doing. But just get motion creates emotion, forward progress.
Beautiful. All right. James Sims submitted a question. Has wholesale of any kind been outlawed in the 50 states?
Craddock is going to be the guy to answer this one.
I love this question. This is where real estate is going. It used to be that investors were on one side and agents were on the other. There's this like convergence of them. So yeah, a bunch of states, Illinois, Oklahoma, now Nebraska, South Carolina, even Michigan has passed laws, but where if you do more than 5 wholesale deals, they're not really going after it. They're just not implementing the law there. But what's happening is instead of being just selling paper, selling contracts, they're saying that is a real estate activity. And so what that means is essentially you need to have a real estate license to sell that wholesale contract or it's a crime. So I do believe that is where real estate is going, which is why we at Wholesaling Inc. are creating our tribe with EXP, which, by the way, if anybody's licensed or looking to get licensed, contact me. Let me know who you're working with. Brent, David, like whoever you're working with, Lauren, whoever you're working with. And we've created a tribe here for the agent investor. We're even giving away some free coaching, some free just content, all the other stuff to really help you scale that business. And actually, just to give you an idea, some of our friends over in Oklahoma, they started literally exactly a year ago in May, and they're just taking all of their leads they're throwing away, and they started a retail side, and they're averaging 18 closings a month on the retail side. So they're just making a fortune on the retail side just from their deals they've been throwing away. So I'll tell you, there is a path forward to make a whole heck of a lot of money if you get ahead of what's coming.
I love the fact that you just said that, Chris. I'm really excited what you guys are doing, what you're spearheading right now. Obviously, I mean, you talk about Wayne Gretzky being so successful because he skated where the puck is going, not where it was at. So I really think the puck is going this way. And I used to have a real estate license. Guess who's getting it back? So I'm not trying to shiny object or derail what I've got going on, but unfortunately, it's just one of those things. I want to stay in this game, so I'm getting my real estate license back. I'm going to jump on a win really quick from Brian E. I have closed on 11 wholesale deals and the 12th in escrow, and I have really bad imposter syndrome. But you have to just keep pushing through.
We're going to hit him for that. Yeah, buddy.
There you go. All right, keep those numbers coming in. I'll pick it in 3 minutes, or actually we'll randomly pick it in 3 minutes. Scarlett's helping me with that, so just keep popping those numbers in, and we're going to give one of those beautiful victory bells that David Dodge is ringing. Let's go to one more submitted question from DP. With all the information out there on YouTube, why would I work with a coach versus going at the business on my own? That's a great question,
I
Derek.
love this question.
I love it. So guys, I'll be the first to answer this, and I'll keep it super, super short. It took me 3.5 to 4 months of struggling to try to do a deal on my own. I hired a coach after, let's say, 4 months and did a deal within 10 days. 10 days.
Yeah.
So I could have waited another 3 or 4 months of struggling.
Yep.
Or I could have hired the coach. So what did that coach do? Did they teach me things that I didn't know? Sure, a few things, but really more it was the accountability. It was, David, how much time are you spending on your marketing? And what are you doing? Well, let's tweak a couple of these things that you're doing and make it work. And then also, you're cold calling for 20 minutes a day. Well, you need to be doing an hour or 2 or 3. And you need to do this, you need to do that. And all of a sudden I had to answer to somebody. And that changed everything for me. So do you have accountability? By definition, you can't really hold yourself accountable. You got to have somebody else there to help you. Also, and I think everybody's going to agree, is that you get a sense of community when you're in a coaching program. Every program I've ever been in, which is usually 2 or 3 at any given time, I learned 50 to 60% from the coach themselves and the remaining from the community. So if you don't have a cool community that you can connect with and bounce your ideas off and share wins and also share losses, right? Sometimes you learn lessons from other people's, mistakes. So there's just so much value, incredible amount. I usually have 3 or 4 coaches at any given time, still to this day.
I love that. And you said the tweaks. You know, I was on a plane the other day, and the entire time I was on the plane, we were off course, and it kept correcting back, little
Right.
tiny tweaks. Just a little degree constantly was off course. The wind changed, blah, blah, blah. The tailwind increased. So those tweaks. And I started in real estate in 2007, got my real estate license, and went to seminar after seminar, maxed out credit card after credit card. You know when I really finally became successful in my business was when I hired Tom Kroll as a coach, the head Rhino that started Wholesaling Inc. So, I mean, that's a testament right there.
So I want to jump into this. I think that everybody should spend a minimum, like in your budget, you need, if you're not doing any deals, you need to hire a coach. But once you're doing deals and the more money you make, you need to spend at least 10% of your income on it. Like I'm just telling you, I spend well over 6 figures on coaching every year for myself. Coaching and masterminds, like literally, I'm writing checks for well over, like actually a couple $100,000 at this point for coaches and mentors in my life, because I believe that I can find all of that information on YouTube, all of that information on podcasts, all of that information. But what a coach gives you, there's a couple things. One, David talked about it. It gives you a sandbox to play in with people that you trust to tell you exactly the right thing to do. So you get to pick your sandbox, right? And I want people that I trust to call me out on I'm a great salesperson, so I can sell myself on my own BS. So I want somebody that will say, hey, Craddock, shut up. You're being an idiot. You know, you're chasing a shiny object. Or no, this is a great genius of the and that's going to leverage your time and help you do better. Right? Because I can promise you, if you want to say, hey, you know what, this is hard, let me try something else, you can find other things that look really cool on YouTube very fast. And you need somebody to say, hey, no, you're on the right path. You know, it just takes a little while to get where you want to go. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? And so that's why it's so important to have coaching and have people that you trust, and then also get a sandbox of people that will play in your sandbox that you're like, man, these are the people I want to spend my life with.
I got something to add. So I always say YouTube University will give you vision, but it will not give you direction. So when you try to get it done on YouTube University, you start going 27 different ways. Whereas with a coach, you go a straight line. They will give you a straight line. You won't waste any time. You won't waste marketing dollars. I can't tell you how many students I have say, I tried this on YouTube University. I couldn't figure it out. I'm coming to you as a last resort. And then they go, oh my God, they have like 57 light bulb moments in my program, and they close deals in record time when they may have been on YouTube University for like 2 years. So
the problem with YouTube University is anybody can create a video and throw it up on YouTube, right? So you may have conflicting points of view. And if you want to get into wholesaling, you know, you can easily get sidetracked and be watching videos on the Brrrr Method and rental properties.
Yeah.
And those two things go hand in hand, but they're not the same thing. They're different.
Yeah.
And there's different approaches with those things. So hiring a coach is really going to laser focus you to getting to where you want to be. What's your goal? Find the coach that's going to help you get to that goal. And you're going to it's going to shorten the time it's going to take much more rapidly. So guys and girls, we have about 2, 3, 4 minutes left here. Let's do a fire round. What do y'all say?
Let's go.
Oh, what are we doing?
All right, let's throw a couple more up on the screen. And guys and girls, thanks for watching. Definitely don't forget to like wherever you're watching this video. If it's on YouTube or on Facebook, if it's on YouTube, definitely subscribe so you can get notified when we do this again. And we love connecting with you all and answering your questions. So
I love that. Smash that subscribe button on the Wholesaling Inc. YouTube channel. And we got a number. It was 11. The number was 11. So I believe
we're rocking.
Yeah. So guys, how do you submit whoever was closest to 11? I believe was Jose Fernandez. So Jose, submit a message to the Wholesaling Inc. Facebook page with your name, your phone number, and your email, and your address. Most importantly, your mailing address, so we can send you that beautiful victory bell that David Dodge is holding right there.
All right. Awesome. Well, guys, it's been a really, really fun time. I'm really looking forward to doing this again and doing this more with you all. And the next time we do it, we'll have more of a lead time to be able to market it. But we had a really good numbers today. I think we maybe had a peak of about 50 people watching, and we had really good questions, and we even had a couple wins. How awesome.
Yeah, love it. Love it, guys. All right. Well, hey, that's the first successful completion of the live Saturday Rhino Roundtable. We will see you again next month, and we'll definitely do like David Dodge said and make sure we give you a little bit further of a lead time on the date. God bless. Enjoy your weekend, and remember to celebrate the small wins.
See you guys.
Bye.
Get it.
Bye.